The National Water Commission's finances have been turned around. That's one of the underreported stories of the budget presentation by Prime Minister Andrew Holness this past week. But the Prime Minister's feeble, uninspiring look at the public transport system won't turn that around. And we shouldn't forget either the fire lessons from atop the transport center at Halfway Tree. Good day, I'm Franklin McKnight, and this is the 63rd episode of the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's hard to believe, but the National Water Commission, NWC, has, according to figures provided by the Prime Minister, turned its finances around. We all know the NWC, a monopoly provider for most of the island's water supply, is an inefficient supplier of the life commodity. It was run as a political trough where anybody could get a job on the MP's say-so. It lost up to 40% of the water it treated, and theft, routine in some areas, amounted to a large part of the loss, complemented by old leaking pipes. According to the Prime Minister, the National Water Commission has been turned around. Here's what he said, quote, "The NWC's financial performance has shown a worthy turnaround, moving from a net loss of $2.3 billion in the 2021 financial year to a net year-to-date profit of $2.73 billion as of January 2022-23. This performance means that the NWC is now much less of a fiscal risk to the country." Well, some more data is needed, of course, to determine how far the turnaround is and its likely permanence. But it's amazing, and it's to be complimented, that the NWC is able to do that with such existing large-scale inefficiencies. For example, the whole town of Brownstown, St. Ann, including its commercial core, was without water almost the entire December and part of January. And the NWC keeps locking off water, as we know, all over the country, including in the capital city with its high-density residential areas. How do you make money telling your customers they cannot get the product you are supposed to sell them? Hats off to the NWC's President and CEO, Mark Barnett, who has been taking quite a few licks over recent years. Before I take on the Prime Minister on public transport, here's Desmond Richards, founder of Rebel Radio Jamaica.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness' budget presentation was a pre-election budget presentation. Under 2 years before the next general election, the government has started to lose the support of the people. And the latest public opinion polls have given clear indication of how the people feel about the government, leaders, and its performance. So the Prime Minister must be credited for listening to the voice of the suffering people. Cost of living is high and getting higher. Crime is out of control, and the people are having difficulties, serious difficulties. So the PM has responded with a bag of promises aimed at fixing the situation. Let us watch and see the delivery process, how these promises are implemented, and the impact on the lives of the suffering people. Let us watch and see how that works out. Let us see how crime is brought under control. Water supplies so that people can get water. Medical care and all the other social and economic problems facing the people. Let us see how these are dealt with. However, there is one big omission. Nothing was said about the government's plan to deal with corruption. Corruption has eaten away hundreds of millions of dollars of tax dollars. Hundreds of millions. And very little has been done to bring those accountable to books. This government has presided over one of the worst, one of the most incredulous period of corruption since 1962. And unless serious action is taken to address corruption, some of the problems that we are facing are not going to be dealt with. For example, the crime problem. We have to deal with the corruption. Let us see what plans the government is coming with.
That was Desmond Richards. Now, the frankly speaking, the commentary. I was saying in my most recent podcast that the country needs a radical, comprehensive approach to create a public transport system to get us out of the hurdles the present ramshackle operation of road transport, JUTC, and thousands of unregulated taxis and buses provide. The Prime Minister agrees, frankly speaking, the benefits are legion and obvious from just seeing what goes on in decent functioning societies. And so, the Prime Minister mentioned it again as he sought to make amends or mend fences with what are described as many disgruntled taxi operators. First, to repeat, frankly speaking, a public transport system is more than regulating 30,000 route taxis and assorted robots and minibuses and the sinking JUTC. It's more than that. But even to get the taxi and minibus part to work, the Prime Minister is going down the wrong road.
Madam Speaker, I could not speak about roads without emphasizing an efficient and orderly public transportation sector. Because, Madam Speaker, this is critical for the development of any well-run society. And it is also essential for the convenience and quality of life of Jamaican citizens.
The problem with the public taxi and minibus system is not solved with giving each driver a discount of $5,000 in renewing his license or arranging driving and service classes for them. The problem is economic. The government continued policy and practice of having the power and exercising it to decide when to offer fare increases and how much, without regard to the cost of operation, is what shut down the JOS and then the Jamaica Railway Corporation. It is that anti-entrepreneurial shackle, primarily, which causes operators to triple the fares at nights, force 10 schoolers into the back seat of a highest bus that should carry 4, and that squeezes in 7 people routinely into a car that should take 4 plus a driver. It's the economics, Prime Minister, that forces the driver to try to make 5 trips, cutting corners overtaking where it should, where safe and courteous driving might have allowed two with a decent, fair rate. It starts with the economics, the financing, and it would help if we could have a few decent bus bays or bus parks and regulated operations carried out by the people who take the money from the taxi and bus operators, that is, the transport authority. Frankly speaking, Mr. Holness must get some of the people in his cabinet to do some work. And this is the work of Audley Shaw, or whoever succeeds him. Take on the public transport system, clean it up, and give us something representing the times in which we live. Briefly now, when that firefighter climbed atop the transport center last week Tuesday, he exposed some of the ills of the fire brigade. Ask yourself, first of all, which organization or company can afford to suspend someone, yes, suspend someone for 12 months, as the sergeant was? Then, did you notice that the police turned up an hour or two after the fire trucks got there? And did you realize that there was no one to negotiate the sergeant's immediate descent? And then, did you notice that he could easily have fallen to his death even as he repeated his sliding heroics? Here now is Winnie Anderson Brown.
Let's take a look at why one of the reasons gangs are attractive to children, or children are good recruits for gangs. One, a child under 12 cannot be charged for an offense. The age of criminal responsibility is 12 years old. Yes? Between age 12 and 18, a child can be charged and tried in a juvenile court. But the beauty of it all is that that child does not have a criminal record. In other words, you cannot have a criminal record before you're age 18. Criminals know this. Children know this. So the best time to commit a crime is before you get to age 18. So why not be a part of a gang for all the other reasons people join a gang? Now, in my view, anyone who commits a crime should have a criminal record. What is done with that record is another matter for another debate, another time, a matter of discussion another time. Now, if anything I have said is incorrect, I'd be happy for someone to correct me and tell me otherwise. Let's begin the discussion.
That was Winnie Anderson Brown, health facilitator and educator. That's it for the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast this week. Please like, share, and subscribe. On behalf of Desmond Richards and Winnie Anderson Brown, I'm Franklin McKnight. Until then.